Alice Goodfox, and I'm running for re-election to the Osage Nation Congress. I have an Associate of Science from St. Gregory's College, a Bachelor of Science from the University of Maryland, and I hold a Master's in HR from the University of Oklahoma. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for hosting, Mr. Ryan, and for all of those that were able to attend today. I call San Antonio home. My mom is Osage and my daddy is from San Antonio, born and raised. So I went to school at St. Peter's down the road, and I grew up in Hollywood Park and Alamo Heights with my granddad and my mom. I enjoy being here, and this is one of my most favorite forums because I am home. I've worked really hard over the last 8 years for the Osage Nation. I have, you will see in your May edition of your Osage News, the Osage Congress has a mission statement. The mission of the Osage Nation Congress is to adopt a systems of laws to promote the health, education, and well-being of Osage citizens, preserve the checks and balances of the government by the independent exercise of legislative powers, carry out oversight responsibilities to enhance government accountability, encourage and support the raising of tribal revenues into appropriate monies that support necessary government services, and preserve and protect the nation's environment. So in your May edition of the Osage News, you will see that I have written legislation for each one of these bullet points of the Osage Congress mission statement. I have authored legislation that directly relates and correlates to what our statement is. I sponsored ONCA 1730, which was an act to provide for conservation and management to wildlife. ONCA 16112, an act to require that all donations be made on behalf of the Osage Nation to be funded and administered and awarded by the Osage Nation Foundation. I am a congresswoman who doesn't always sponsor legislation with an appropriation attached to it. I look around and see what is working or not working within our government, and that was one of the pieces of legislation that I wrote, where I noticed that organizations or individuals were able to go to the judicial branch for a donation, and the legislative branch for a donation, and the casino for a donation, the executive branch for a donation. And I said, why are we doing that? We need one place. No one should be allowed, no organization, no individual should be allowed to go around throughout the Osage Nation and get donations for, Little League softball. So I saw an area that needed to be addressed, and that's what I do. I feel like that's what I do a lot. I recently was the author. I worked with the director for domestic violence prevention and sponsored ONCA 1818, which it amended the criminal code to strengthen the language and increase penalties for violence and domestic violence crimes against the Violence Against Women's Act and the Indian Civil Rights Act. And I also sponsored a piece of legislation that was ONCA 1817, which allowed for women who are in domestic violence situations to have an address outside of Osage County and still receive services, because they were not able to do that. So we have a P.O. box for them in another location so that they can be safe and still get services through Osage Nation. I have served on all of the committees over the last 8 years. I've been elected as second speaker for 2 years out of this last term. And I would like to answer the questions now. The Cherokee Nation has a very successful economic development program. Maria spoke to this earlier. She does have some legislation in there. I think that we got a little bogged down towards the end of our session and we weren't able to address it. I am supportive of one board. I voted no against all of the appropriations that came to the Congress. We had $1.1 million in the fund, and we had $3 million worth of requests. We heard some good plans. I voted no, not because I didn't support the boards. It was because I don't like the process. I felt that the process is broken, and there was no point in trying to spend down $1.1 million when I felt like the process could be fixed through legislation. So I would be supportive of legislation that would fix that. If you're elected, please describe what you've done to improve the lives of Osage people. I believe that I've sponsored legislation that improves the lives of Osage people through voting yes for the health benefit card, scholarship, burial assistance fund. When I was elected in 2010, we were, of course, we were voting on that, but we've increased. Now, I think that we're to a point that we are going to have to hold. Do I think that you are going to see an increase in burial assistance in the next couple of years? No, but since I've been on Congress, we have increased from 3,000 to 5,000. We have increased the scholarship money, and we included the Part D for the health benefit card. We also have the rollover, and I've been a part of Congress that has voted for the rollover. So a long time ago, when you first got the health benefit card, it was for 1 year. Now you can carry over for 3 years, I think. 2 years. 2 years. And do I think that we're going to see more of a rollover? No. I think that we're probably going to have to hold where we're at. The Osage Casino Businesses has committed to dispensing $40 million to our nation. Do you, if elected, pledge to work for the good of our Osage people and live within the agreed upon distribution? I would love to see us stay at $40 million. I hold the opinion that it takes, and I've answered a question on Facebook, and I'm very involved on social media. I answer questions. I've always put my cell phone number on there so that people can call me if they have any questions for me. It takes people to say no also, and this is a very difficult position to be in. We want all of those great ideas for our Osage people, for our elders, for our children, for the people that reside in Osage County, and for the people that reside throughout the United States. We want to do all these great things, but we have to live within our means. And it is difficult to say no, but I have been a congresswoman that has said no. I have voted for reductions in statues or memorials, and it's not because I didn't want to see us have a great memorial. It was because I felt like a certain amount was enough money. And it's difficult to say no sometimes, but we have to do that. And I am a congresswoman that will take into consideration what is our numbers, what are our numbers looking at the time, talking with our treasurer, working with our budget analysts, what is coming down the pike, what could come down the pike, are we going to have any lawsuits? We are always needing to save money for a lawsuit. And I don't spend my own money foolishly, and I will not spend the Osage Nation people's money foolishly. I have a good attendance record. In the last 8 years, we used to publish our attendance record, and then at some point that went away. But I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and I was thinking about my attendance record, and I said, well, my dad was in ICU down in San Antonio, and I missed 3 days, and I wasn't able to vote on the Bluestem Ranch. But I felt like coming down here to be with my dad was more important. And I have missed for a couple of funerals for relatives, and other than that, I haven't missed any work. I'm there for special sessions, I'm there for committee meetings, I'm there for the fall session, I'm there for the spring session. And this job it's humbling. It's a humbling job, and I enjoy it. I think that I've done a very good job, and I would appreciate your vote and support on June 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice.